Hey everybody, Questwise here, and if you saw my teaser yesterday, you probably saw this book here. And, during this time of social distancing and stay in place orders from the different collective governments and local authorities and stuff, I've been doing some digging back through my collection of stuff, looking for new stuff to read. It's a hard time to try to, get new things in to review, and it's a hard time to, get things that are sort of new to the channel. So I thought maybe with this being in the year of 2020 and the going back to basics, I'll go back and talk about one of the games that really formed my uh, career, as it were, as a role player, my journey as a role player. And this was the teaser from yesterday, and maybe the hat will be a little tip off as well as to where we're going today. And you may have guessed correctly when you thought about this: the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness. This is by Palladium Books. Unfortunately, this has been out of print for quite some time. The license does not belong to Palladium anymore, so they're unable to create any of this stuff. But this game, along with Heroes Unlimited, and this is my original Heroes Unlimited book as well too. There's a new edition, a second edition, newer edition, I guess, that's available. But this was the one. This combined with this is really what started my whole path as a role player. And so I thought I'd just talk a little bit about my experience, my journey with these games. Um, that, I mean, this game really has a huge influence on the way I play and the way that I design games, as well as just sort of my focus of things that I like to look for in role-playing games and such. If you've seen some of my videos before, you know the story a little bit about how this all came to be. And that is that, where I lived and still live in northern Michigan, there wasn't at the time, this would be back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. There wasn't a time, or there wasn't a place that I could buy role-playing games, and I even knew about role-playing games. And my cousin's friend introduced me to these two, and taught us how to play, and we played all summer long, and then graduated into Rifts later towards the end of the summer and stuff. But these were the games that are instrumental to me. In fact, I remember poring over this book, and I didn't even own a copy. In fact, the very first role-playing game book that I ever owned was Adventures in the Northern Wilderness, which was for the Palladium Fantasy role-playing game. But I remember poring over my cousin had a copy of this, and I pored over it, and I memorized as much as I could about this game and everything about it. Now, the thing that makes this game really great is this is the Turtles before they became overly commercialized. This is the Turtles still back in Eastman and Laird. We're still in charge of it, and it's very. There's still some campiness to it, but it's very gritty. There's blood. There's people dying. People coming back from the dead. There's aliens. There's all sorts of great stuff in here, and Palladium put out several supplements for this as well too. I have a few Mutants Down Under, Truck and Turtles. There's a bunch of adventure supplements. The only one that I've not been able to track down, and I found a few copies, but they're ultra expensive, is Transdimensional Turtles. I would love to add that to my collection someday. From what I understand, it has one of the best rules for time traveling ever produced for a role-playing game. But, Heroes Unlimited, we use these two in conjunction with each other. And, man, we had so many great times. And there are times when you don't want to play a mutant animal. And so we graduated to this, Ninjas and Superspies. And this was you were able to make people like Casey Jones, and you were able to make Superspies and a plethora of different martial art types, and I got really excited about all of the different well-researched different types of martial arts that you could create a character with, and this book is just amazing. If you don't have this in your collection and you're a martial arts fan, this is definitely the book for you, as well as maybe picking up the Mystic China book as well too. But from what I understand, almost all of these, at least these two in particular, are written by Eric Wujik, who unfortunately is not with us. If you'd like to go back and see my sort of memorial to him, go back in the catalog, you can see that as well too. But from what I understand, he traveled to China and Japan and different places to learn more about these martial arts, and each one of them is very distinct and they have their own flavor and very, very well done. And then after a while, there was an expansion to this because the licensing was starting to run out and stuff. There was this creation, and that is After the Bomb. And this is basically a generic version of playing an anthropomorphic animal. And and there are hundreds of different variations in here of things that you can play, and even more so in like books like Mutants Down Under adds a huge amount of new ones, wallabies and kangaroos and all the stuff you would expect to see in Australia. And this has really, really recaptured my imagination for the late 80s, early 90s, and that time period when I grew up, when everything was still magical and fascinating and new. And so I've been sort of doing this, this time of stay in place and social distancing, been staying home and trying to capture that excitement I had during those times. And these books have definitely helped me do that, because these were the things that were most influential to me. These were the things that really, really, at that time, captured my imagination and flared my love of things like Thundercats and G.I. Joe, the D&D cartoon and stuff. And it wasn't shortly after that, when I came back from, further downstate, that I discovered Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition. And then that set my path into a hardcore fantasy role-playing experience for most of my life. And fantasy is still my jam. I really love fantasy. I love magic games that incorporate magic and fantasy type elements. But when I'm looking for something that's just kind of crazy and something that's just kind of, inspiring to my nostalgia, these are the games that I return to, and they're phenomenal. If you watched the channel before, you know that I'm a huge fan of Palladium, and I've done some work via the channel for them. I'm hoping everything gets cleared up soon, and next year we're able to do the Palladium Open House, which will be their 40th anniversary. I can't wait to be there and be a part of that, and run some games and play in some games and talk to some old friends and meet some new ones and stuff as well too. But Palladium Books has had a huge influence into my gaming career, my gaming sort of growth as a gamer over time. But if you can find a copy of this online for a decent price, it's well worth picking up. Especially if you're a Turtle fan, especially if you're an early Turtles fan, the Eastman and Laird stuff that's gritty and it's black and white, and it's just phenomenal. And almost all the artwork in here is done by them, taken from their, captured from their sketches and stuff as well too. But this game is it's so much fun to play, and I really enjoy creating characters for this, but I also really enjoy running a game where people are actually playing the Turtles, or playing Baxter Stockman, or playing Casey Jones, or April O'Neil. All the stats for those people are in here, and you can use those in game to play as either NPCs or as player characters. And we've done that several times, and it's really, really fun to do those things. And we've used some of the adventures from here. There's some great villains in here, man. Doc Farrell, the crazy scientist dude, is really creepy and fun to run. Some of the others, like the adventures from Truck and Turtles and Turtles Go Hollywood, they're just so cool, and they're campy and they're fun, but yet they're gritty, and there's a kind of a level of violence in there that's sort of not seen in some of the other comics of the age at that time and stuff as well too. So I just wanted to share that with you today. I hope that you are all staying safe, and I hope that some of you are taking this time to rediscover what it is that made you role players. whatever that might be it D&D or Palladium or like Traveler, whatever that game happens to be. That I hope that you're able to take this time to go in it and re-experience those things and find out, rediscover what it was that really made you passionate about this hobby. So whatever that game is for you, put it down in the comments below. I'd love to start a conversation about what those games were that really set you on the path as a role player, and what it was, the nostalgic factor. And it doesn't matter how long ago. It could be 40 years ago. It could be 2 years ago. It could be yesterday. But what is that game that captured your imagination? What is it about role playing and role playing games that really make you nostalgic or make you super passionate about this hobby that we have today? So until next time, I hope you're all staying safe. Game on when you can, my friends. I'm Questwise, and until next time, I am